here we are again. Unfortunately, lockdown free. I don't think anyone would have envisaged what's happened, that we'd still be here. So somehow we're back with Dogcast. We've had a lot of requests for it, and since us being back in lockdown, we thought why not. And today we're fortunate enough to have my little mate Donal, who's just told me that he gets called boring a lot on Twitter. So he's buzzing for this, that he can get his personality across. I'm a bit worried for him because he is actually boring. I don't think he realises it. So thanks for coming on, Donal. How are we doing?
Yeah, good mate. Yeah, all good. Thank you very much.
And he likes to take the mick out of me quite a bit, saying welcome to the podcast when I started doing it. But as soon as I asked him, he was buzzing to be on. So I know now that all along he's just been jealous. So like I said, welcome back everyone. And I'm pretty excited about this one with Donal, just to get into his mindset and where he's come from. I don't think many people will know your story, and we'll see how much we can get out of you and be as open as you want, mate. So let's take it back to Cumbria. Obviously, Cumbria is a massive rugby league town, or what would we call it? County, innit? County, yeah. So Cumbria's a massive county. So what's your take on Cumbria and the fact? Because I know you Cumbrian boys are massive on Super League having a Cumbrian team. So what's your take on it and educate people who's not from Cumbria what it's like back there?
Yeah, it's kind of like a county that's 10 years behind modern times, to be fair. And until I come to the city, I didn't realise what life was really about other than Cumbria, because it is like a bubble, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And growing up there, obviously, until I was 16, until when I moved away from Bradford, you know what I mean? I think that it probably put me in good stead growing up in that bubble, you know what I mean? Because I had I would say a quite quiet upbringing. Obviously living on a dairy farm, being one of 5, you know what I mean, keeping out of trouble. There's not much trouble up there, there's not much crime, and all I knew was rugby from the age of 6, or a bit of a jack in a box, as you call it, a bull in a china shop, as my grandma would call me, and all I wanted to do was smash the spot up. So to finally get to play rugby for Loughborough Hornets at the age of 6 was that kind of release for me, to get rid of that energy, whether it was at school or being a nightmare at home. But coming onto the rugby stage, you know, Cumbria's crying out for a Super League team. You know what I mean? The only thing that I could see the problem being is the investment there. You know, there's a lot of people, you know, committed to trying to make it happen, but it's the team's coming together.
Yeah, they're all stuck in their old ways, aren't they?
They are, and obviously there's a big rivalry between Whitehaven and Working.
They don't want to come together, do they?
No, the Jam Eaters Working, obviously, they would not like to join with Whitehaven, and that rivalry's, you know, still massive now, even though it might have been, you know, 50 years since that Jam Eater phrase come from. And I do hope that, you know, RFL at some point can recognise the crying out need for that. For Cumbria,
because there's quite a few Cumbrian lads in Super League, and you don't really realise how many there is. But it is like you say, I've got friends from being 16-year-old who I played with, like to them now at Warrington, and the families and the great people, and rugby mad. When I go and visit them, they are rugby mad. But it's like, it's a crying shame. It's probably too big. Whereas the passion's similar to like Wigan or your Cass, small-minded places really. Because it's so small, they've only got Wigan to focus on, whereas Cumbria's that big. Like you say, you've got your Barrow, your Workington, your Whitehaven, and because the rivalries are so big, they're so narrow-minded that they won't come together, will they? Because
they won't, no.
They all, like I said, each of us calling each other Jam Eaters. I still can't get my head around who's actually a Jam Eater. Really.
And for the Cumbrian lads now that are at the stage where they're ready to kick on with their career, you know, Whitehaven is their next step. But they're in League 2 now. You know what I mean? In Championship 1, and it's tough to get used to that standard, then jump back to get there. You know, you see Carl Morey come through the system at Whitehaven till he was mid-20s, and then he kicked on later on. But there's very few that do that, and for Super League clubs now to bring players away from Cumbria, you know, it's going to cost them a bit of money because they have to home them, they have to school them, they have to feed them. And I was lucky enough that I got that opportunity to be able to move home and pursue what I had a massive passion for.
Let's crack on. That was my next question. Obviously, it's a massive thing, and I spoke about Glenn Riley there. He did something similar. He moved to Wigan when he was 16. You moved to Bradford, and that's a massive, like you say, you're in the deep end really. You moved to Bradford, so to talk about that move and how hard it was to move away from a family, like you say, on a farm that was so close, 5 siblings, to then move away and be in Bradford. Talk about that experience.
Yep, well, obviously I finished my GCSEs, and the week after that I packed my bags and moved on my own. Obviously left all my family back in Cumbria. Obviously we own a dairy farm, so that was the main priority for my family, to stay around that and live there. But Bradford offered me the opportunity to live with a family, Sean and Elaine, which was academy kitman at the time. And that was a total different kettle of fish for me, moving out of my comfort zone. So I moved in with Sean and Elaine. They had 2 daughters living there, and they fostered a boy called Adam as well. Which was really good for me because he was a young lad and I wanted to look after him. He had a tough upbringing himself, and he probably never had a lot of the privilege that I had. So when I passed my test, I used to take him out. Even if he just went,
What did you have?
Just a seat of beef I had.
Did you?
Yeah.
Won't be seen then in that.
But even just to get him out for a McDonald's or something like that, just to spend a bit of time was good with him. But a lot of my time when I finished training, obviously Sean and Elaine were at work and their daughters were doing their own thing, so I used to just sit in the Bradford Bulls offices with all the old ladies and have a brew and a bit of a crack, and then I'd walk home at about 5 o'clock when they went home, and I'd just sit in my room on my own on a night. I had nothing else to really do. I didn't want to get into their family time together, so I just spent a lot of time in my room, and rugby was everything I had then. That was my reason, and rugby was my reason for a long time until this probably last, probably 3 or 4 years really. But all I could think about was rugby, and that's what drove me the most, I think, because if I didn't have rugby, if I wasn't getting picked in that team, why am I in Bradford? You know what I mean?
I want to pick up on that because one of the main things that I want to work with these podcasts is getting people's personalities across. Like you said, you're not a big, massive personality where you throw yourself out there, but when you're around the bars, you want to remain people in the changing rooms and stuff like that. And the one is mindset. I want to try and get my head around, or get people's points of view, what the reason why is. So you just spoke about your why, and you sat in your... But at 16-year-old, that's like a massive thing to a 16-year-old. You sit there and you think, well, you've moved away from home, you've got out your comfort zone that you spoke about. You've done all that for rugby. That's one challenge. You've moved away from home for rugby. So that's one. Why would you do that? Do you know what I mean? It's so easy to just go, well, there's not really many opportunities. I'll go and play for Whitehaven, Workington, live around my family. That's the comfort thing to do. So why go out your comfort zone? And then the other thing, I hope I don't offend you in saying this. It might have been a bit different when you was younger, but you're not your Greg Inglis. You're not your Greg Inglis, or your massive marquee player. But what you do is all the tough things, the unseen things. That is what you make your name for. So that is a mindset way of playing, is to actually go out there and do the tough things that probably not most people aren't going to see. So that's another reason why. What do you think it is instilled in you that thinks, no, I'm going to go and do this, even though it's a tough option? What do you think your reason why is? More or less on a training field, why would you go and make that extra run, whereas most people probably wouldn't? What do you think sets you apart?
I think it was obviously I got my first ACL injury at 17, and at the time when I did my ACL, I didn't really know what an ACL was. So for me, it was a bit of a mind boggle, and I didn't really know what was to come in that next year that I was going to miss. So obviously that year of living on my own, at this point I'd moved out to my own apartment, stuck in the house on my own with this injury. You learn a lot about yourself. And then my second game back, my opposite knee ACL went, and as soon as it happened, I just knew that it had gone, and I thought that at the time, can I do this again? You know what I mean? This is tough,
How old were you then?
18. Second game back after my first one, my second ACL.
And you was a big name for at this time. You was a big name for Bradford, weren't you? I remember you being like one of the standouts and one of the names that everyone will speak about coming through. Obviously with similar age, So like to have all that expectation, like you're saying, and you the world at your feet really, to then, like you said, come crashing down with two is a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, massive. And you know that third year I was out of contract after coming back after 2 ACLs. I missed 24 months of that playing time, and you know I remember playing that season. I don't think I got any injuries that season. I remember ringing Francis Cummins and begging him for a contract.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he was in a tough position, and I said, Franny, just trust me, I will prove everything to you. And I was honestly practically begging. Yeah. And Francis gave me that extra opportunity, which you know I'm fully grateful for, which got me back on track really. Yeah. And then it come through that time at Bradford where they went through the administration and stuff like that. We weren't getting paid, things like that, which was not nice. And obviously Bradford got relegated, and I was ready for a fresh start. Yeah. And that's when I moved to OKR. And
when you look back on all that, there's quite a lot really from 16 years of age. Yeah. A lot of adversity has come, and some chosen. You've chased a dream. You've moved away from home, which must be difficult at 16-year-old. How much of that do you look back on now and you think that shaped you? Because I see the way you are with people. Yeah. You've done, and we'll touch on this later on. But how you welcome people into your family. You're not from Leeds, but you very much live in Leeds. You get your own little family now, and you've got a good foundation here. You very much like to bring people in, outsiders, Connor, Reese, young boys coming in, young Levi. You're giving him lifts every morning. I see. How much do you think that shaped you? Whether it was the family that brought you in, or whether you going through that experience of having to throw yourself in the deep end and create a new life somewhere different.
I think it mainly come. I was a bit of a cocky lad when I was 17. You know what I mean? I used to give cheek to the first team. I'd probably give one of the young lads a slap here if they did it now, to be fair. And I was cheeky, and that kind of learnt me a lot of tough lessons, and the injuries, you know, definitely made me grow as a person. And I think spending that time on your own and thinking about, like you said earlier, what your why is and why you do everything you do, and coming back from them injuries has instilled that, you know, that every time I had to come back from injury and prove myself, I'd start at the bottom of the pile 10 times over, but I know that put me in any situation and I'll prove to anyone my worth.
Yeah, and we'll move on that, and I think that's a great point to show that people see this glamorous life of rugby league, and this isn't me playing rugby league, the job I do. I'm not playing it down because I'm so fortunate, I'm grateful to do the job that I do, but a lot of people see Friday Night Lights and the experience that we have on there, whether we play well, whether we don't play well, and they judge it on that. Whereas, like you said, not many people will know your story, and there's a lot of them. Obviously, yours will be different in certain ways, but the sacrifice that you've given to be in this privileged position that you're in, you 100% deserve it. And you might go play on a Friday night and drop a few balls or miss a few tackles, and people will be like, well, you don't deserve it, you shouldn't have a Leeds Rhinos shirt on. But you've shown over the years the adversity to get that you deserve that one-off game or whatever, and you know that won't accept that, and them's not acceptable for your standards. On that, obviously, the move to OKR, and you spoke about proving yourself, and these actually will touch on we know you like a bit of a name drop, don't you? And he likes all the pretentious things and the nice things in life. We spoke about this before with Gala, so we'll speak about that time. It'll be interesting for a lot of the Leeds fans, because obviously the Leeds Bradford massive derby, the massive games. Unfortunately, I've only been a part of the Rodby Road experience, which was a great game, and Jones's testimonial probably just opened my eyes to how good it would have been back in the day. So you will come through the first couple of years, you'll have been a part of that team, wouldn't you? Can you name some of them players that you played with, and some of the games that you was probably a part of the squad? Maybe not played, but you was a part of the squad and around the games.
Yeah, Bradford. Firstly, you know, there was the likes of, you know, Leslie Varnicola, Shantae Harpy, Paul Deacon, Sam Burgess, Glenn Morrison. You know, some of the Terry Newton. Some of the, you know, great lads that are great in this game. You know what I mean? And then to move to OKR and play with Terry Campese, you know, and Sean Lunt, you know, he was at the top of his game at that stage, you know what I mean? There was a lot of good players that I've been privileged to play with over the years, which I try and hold on to them great players as friends as well, because there's always something to be learnt off them, and
that's a lesson as well, isn't it? Like, if you sit, I think about this now, working on gratitude and being grateful for them around, and me being away from home, I'm grateful for the group that we've got. That's Connie, Reese, the missuses, you and Georgia, and the close-knit group that I've got, and I've started to realise, and I look back now, how many close friends I had at Warrington that probably not as close as I want to be, and it probably opened my eyes to how quick you can just distance yourself from them relationships. And it's like you're probably good at you try and cherish them relationships, even people you speak now that are in Australia, that you still keep close. And I think you sometimes get lost in the adversity or the celebrations, the week in, week out, to actually appreciate and keep them friends close of what you're going through, because there'll be a time where Connie will move on, he'll go to Gold Coast, and we probably take him for granted having him around every day making us laugh, don't we?
100%, you know. When me and you probably first met at first, we might not have seen eye to eye because we're probably a clash of characters, but over this last year we've become really good mates, you know what I mean? And I think now for me, I want to be around people that's going to help me grow and make me a better player. And lifelong friends, people who do stuff that I do for them, and I think that means more than anything. And obviously, like you said, we've got a good group now together, all trying to push each other to get to that next level. Yeah,
100%, mate. And I think I've spoken about that before, probably being a sign of our success, really, or progression, really, of where we're getting to. You spoke about the doing anything to prove your point to Francis Cummins, get through your injuries, moving away from home. How much of that did you have to rely on? You was out of contract when you left OKR. Your opportunity at Leeds came through trial. I remember you saying that you was putting videos out on Instagram, social media, showing that you was training at Housetown. How much of that did you then rely on, and talk us through that first opportunity that came with Leeds?
Well, it ended a bit sour with OKR, to be fair, you know. Sheens had, you know, kind of said that he'd sort me a contract when the end of the season once I got safe from relegation, and then turned around and said there was nothing there for me, which was a kick in the teeth. You know, I was playing at OKR with my best mates, you know, Scrooge, Lundy, Greenwood, you know, the likes of them people, Addy, all my best mates, and I was honestly absolutely loving my time there. And then for it to all come to an end, I was a bit shocked at first, and I remember just sat at home after I got the phone call, just crying, like, what do I do next? And at the time I didn't have a manager, you know, so I rang Ian Sibbett, my manager, and says, look, get my name out there and see who's available. And I always just thought that an opportunity was going to come. And as time went on, a month went, 2 months, lads are starting pre-season training on Monday. I'm ringing Sib every day, Sib, have I got anything? And then I never had anything, and then I did a newspaper article with Dave Craven to get it out there, that my point that I still thought I had something to offer to a Super League club, and I started getting clubs calling me saying, you know, we'll give you a decent wage to come play for us, but I just says I don't want to play a championship. I have no desire to play a championship, and I says I'm not going to give in until I get what I want. And I said to myself, once everyone else started pre-season training, I said I was going to go and have my own pre-season on my own. You know, Clarkey was in a similar position, so I tried to drive him similar as well. So we're going to the gym every day together, you know, trying to post it online, trying to push the standards of our own, and just hope that someone would see, you know, some value in us. And this went on for a while and sleepless nights. You know, I thought, it actually went through my mind, like, what is my purpose now? I don't have a club, you know what I mean? My life, you know, I met Georgia, she was probably the only thing keeping me going down here. So I was at home, and I'd wake up at night, I was up, honestly. I could travel sleep at night, just worrying about it. And then I had to get up and go to the gym and try and push it again the next day to keep on at them levels. And it went on and on, and then a week before Christmas, I think it was, maybe 2 weeks before Christmas, I got a call at 9 o'clock, and I just answered the phone and says hello, and then Kev says hello, it's Kev Sinfield here. I said, oh, you're right, Kevin. He said, we want to offer you a trial, but we can't promise you anything, but we'll have a look at you and see what we think. And then an hour later, Richard Fulis rang me from Huddersfield and says, we want to offer you a trial as well. And then I said, sorry, I've got to turn it down because Kev rang me early and I've got to snap his hand off at that opportunity. So I turned up at 6 o'clock the next day and got straight into training, and lucky enough I was in decent nick because I'd been training hard. And after day one, he'd come up to me and says, we're really impressed with you, and he says, we're going to give you an opportunity to play on Boxing Day. That didn't get off to a good start. I think I dropped first ball, come onto it like a steam train, and I thought, oh, it's going to go this way, is it? But as the game went on, it gave me opportunity to do what I do.
I think that's an insight as well to how much of an effect. So you see us on that field, fans see us playing, but how much is riding on that first carry, and we'll see it, and we have a bit of in training. You know where you're weak, you know where you're strong, you know if you do something good, you know if you do something bad. We're not deluded. We know what the fans are seeing as well.
Yeah.
So there's 6 months or 5 months into that Boxing Day, or however long, of worry, sleepless nights, you training house down, to then come on in your first, and you're in a good place because you've got this opportunity and you're training well, and then your first actions are negative.
Yeah.
How much of a challenge is that then to let that go, because you, like you said, you're thinking, oh, is this how I'm going to go?
Yeah.
But then you've then got to go and perform for the rest of that stint that you're on the field, and how difficult is that?
It's like bringing you straight back down to earth, I suppose. You think you've got this opportunity and you want to prove it that much.
Yeah.
And I think that it still happens now on the field when you see me try to hard sometimes.
Yeah. And
sometimes I just need to take a breath and ease into the game first before trying to make this big play happen straight away. And I just have to try and move on and just get back to what I do best. And that's just hard work and do the little things right.
100%, mate, 100%. We'll speak into some of the stuff that we've already spoke about, and I'll try and tie it in. Obviously, you get a lot of Donal's mindset and a lot of his personality. You've seen him speak about taking young kids out of the family that had him over from Bradford, and I just want to try and tie this into the spirit of the Rhino and try and give you some idea of what's changed in our group to put us back at the top end of the table, fighting and pushing, rather than at the bottom where we was a couple of years ago. I was fortunate enough to give Donal his Challenge Cup shirt. Obviously we couldn't get anyone in because of COVID last year, so the night before the game we'd give each other shirts, and a bit of an insight, I got Donal to give him his shirt, which I was buzzing for because we're really close with him, and I tried to link it to the spirit of the Rhino. Like I spoke before, Donal's not going to come up with the big U-Butte plays, your big massive signing like your Gailers or whatever, but he knows his role, and he does all the unseen things on a field. So that's why Donal's massive for our group, and we underpin Spirit of the Rhino from them unseen efforts. That's how we probably trademark it, and we look back on a game and we go, oh, that was our spirit this week, how do you rate it? Well, we was working for each other on the inside, and a lot of the time the clips come up is Donal doing that. So that's one side of Donal, and I spoke a bit about that. But the main thing that I spoke about when giving him his shirt was the togetherness that we spoke about before in the podcast, and we spoke about putting the things in the fire of what actually mean things to each other. But what I really touched upon was how you brought people into your family. I'm up here on my own, and Donal has me around for dinner when we can. He really looks after me, invites me, makes sure I'm not alone, and he does that with a lot of people, with the young boys, and I think you can see that. And I just wanted to speak about it on here so people can get an insight of it's more than just a rugby ball, innit? It's more than making a tackle. It's a collective, it's an environment and a culture that we're creating, and I very much think that you're probably one of the main pushers of that, and I think people will have seen that through the way that you speak, mate, as well. Touching on the Challenge Cup final, I want you to speak about your experience of, we've both lost one before. Obviously yours was a bit different to the one that I lost. You lost against Leeds, you got pumped. But not only that, the sweetness of that, but the sweetness of all the adversity that you've been through, especially in the not having a club not long before, but how special that was for you.
Yeah, it was like everything was worth it at that point. Probably not my best game Wembley, but still to get a Challenge Cup, on my record, you know what I mean, that means the world to me. I remember being 14-year-old and the Challenge Cup coming to my school, and I had a picture and I kissed it and I said, I'm going to lift that one.
Oh, did you touch it?
Yeah,
I've never touched it until I won it, mate.
That's always been a driver for me about the Challenge Cup, and I think that's what makes it so sweet. You know what I mean? All the adversity and all the people that have written me off, and the persistence that I had to get back to where I wanted to be and lift that cup. You know what I mean? It makes it all worth that journey. But
you speak and you said that it might not have been your best performance. It was the same for me. I reckon I played about 12 minutes. Yeah. And it's like, no, I wanted to play 80 minutes. Yeah. When we want to have a match, we want to win the game. You do that dream. But it's very much going back to the point that it's not just 80 minutes on the field. No. It's a full season that builds into that, and it's a full culture that you are very much a part of, mate. So I wrestled with myself and I thought, should I be celebrating this Challenge Cup final win? Yeah. And I was like, well, yes, it's my first one. very much a part of this squad. You know what I mean? I was a part of successful Warrington sides that I didn't have an influence on them, and they were winning things. And I just thought, no, I'm very much a part of this squad, and that's not just necessarily me and you that probably didn't play a massive part in that final, but I was playing a part, but also the people who are part of that 30-man squad and our staff outside of it are very much a part of the culture and a part of that win, even though they weren't there on the day.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to get to here is that I think this last year, especially with the lockdown, you know, there's me and Georgia who lives together, and you know, I've got Gary and Tracy that live down here, but my family are in Cumbria, and you guys are my family now, you know what I mean? While we're down here, we're out of our environment, you're out of Wigan, you know what I mean? And we have to spend time with each other and treat each other like family, you know what I mean? Like we did on Christmas Day, you know what I mean? It was like we were just on a normal Christmas Day with our own family, but I think them relationships that we've built is what helps us on the field as well,
100%.
you know what I mean? That wanting to work hard for you, you know what I mean, and not letting you down and you not letting me down, and trusting each other. And I think that's the main one.
100%.
Trusting each other, and that doesn't come easy. That comes through spending time with each other off the field, as well as it is on the training park and games. Yeah,
100%. On that, I want to touch on your family and that win, how much it meant to you being away from family. I know you're away from family, but your family still mean a lot. I know your mum still travels down, she's crazy, very similar to my family. She travels down, she doesn't miss a game. She'll travel from Cumbria and back on the night to watch your games. So I want to touch on how much that meant to you for your family and that side, and if you want to touch on your brother, how much your reason why, touch on that 100% and tell the story. And also, your dad's a dairy farmer, and very hard work. You speak, he's like out all hours of the day, doesn't really get away because he doesn't want to leave the farm. How much of your mindset and your attitude and your will to work comes from your dad?
Yeah, that 100%. Everything comes from, like I said, the struggles, but also my dad. You know, the hardest working man you'll ever meet. Ever since I was born, 16-hour days guaranteed. Probably didn't spend as much time as I wanted to with him when I was a young kid, but he was putting the food on the table for us. You know, I even say to you now, I have never heard my dad ever say to me, I cannot be bothered going to work, or I can't be bothered, or I want to sleep in. I've never heard that. You know what I mean? On a Thursday night, he used to go out with his pals and he'd have 12 pints, and I'd go in for my dinner money in the morning, and the milk and parlour stinks of alcohol. I'd say, are you drunk? He's like, no, I'm sound lad. You know what I mean? And that's just his mindset. You know what I mean? And I think that I've got to take stuff off my dad as well, and appreciate the hard work that he's done for me. You know what I mean? And like you said about family, you know, I'm one of 5, 3 sisters and a brother. You know, I'm sure we all know my brother had the accident when I was at Bradford when I was 17, and that was, like I said, I come back from the injuries, and my brother was my driving. You know what I mean? He can't walk. You know, he can't feed himself. You know, he didn't want.
He had an accident on the farm.
He had an accident on the farm where a piece of wood fell off a roof that we were putting up and hit him on the back of the legs and on the back of the neck. Sorry, and my dad was there, and he says, I can't feel my legs, Dad, and that was the start of it all. And then he got airlifted off the farm to Newcastle Hospital, and at that time we weren't really sure what had gone on, and as time went on, he ended up being in hospital for a year. And my mum stayed with him every single night for a year. Like, maybe went home for an hour now and again, but very rarely. You know what I mean? And that's just what type of family I'm from. You know.
And
what I mean?
at what age was this? Was you in Bradford at this point?
Yeah, I was at Bradford. Yeah, so I was looking about 18-year-old coming back from 2 ACLs, and that kind of became my driver for my career. You know what I mean? I wanted to make him happy. You know, there was times where he didn't want to be here anymore. You know what I mean? And he might have wanted things to not be like they were. And I think that the change of things for him was when he had a child. He met a wife and had a child, and that was kind of the changing point for him. You know, his mindset that he has a son to worry about now. You know what I mean? And I've got a really strong relationship with my brother. You know what I mean? And as I said, now everything I do, I try and do it for him as well, because I have them opportunities to be able to walk and run a rugby field. He doesn't. You know what I mean? And yeah, definitely. But all my family, you know what I mean. My sister was an England international rugby player herself. Obviously she packed it in
the
a
best
few years
Donal.
the best Donal.
The better version.
That's what everyone says up there. But yeah, she's from rugby. You know, I've got 2 older sisters, Diane and Andrea. You know, and they've got their own kids. So I've got 9 nieces and nephews, and that's one of the biggest things I miss about Cumbria now is seeing my nephews and stuff like that. And it's made it particularly hard that I'm being able to get up there.
Yeah.
You know, my grandma and granddad are up there. My Aunt and Joyce.
Yeah.
Both of them struggling with cancer at the moment, and everything I do is for my family now. You know,
like I said, there's two ways of looking at that, isn't there? It's like, oh, it's a negative that I'm away from them, or it's like, well, I'm away from them, I've got to make the most of this time. Like, why am I away from them? I'm away from them because I'm here playing rugby. They get to see me playing rugby on TV, which will give them some sort of happiness, and that is your purpose. That's your reason from being away, and that bit of adversity. That's why you're going through it, innit? And
yeah, definitely.
You've got to flip it on its head.
Watching me play on a Friday night on TV's that makes them happy for that rest of that weekend.
It's normal for us, isn't it?
Yeah, it's normal for us.
I can't grasp it.
No, we go on that field and just think that it's all about us, but it's not.
Yeah.
There's more than that.
Yeah,
it's you know, we make the fans happy when we win.
Yeah.
We make our family smile. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When we score, that makes them their weekend, doesn't it?
You don't need worry, Dave Dwyer will be
You know
walking
what I
around
mean?
Wigan with
Yeah.
shit on it.
I know, but and you know what I mean. And it's great that it's not just all about us. It's about how the happiness spreads through
reason,
people,
isn't it?
and the positivity. And like my mum, she travels down every game.
Yeah.
Every game, 3.5 hours. You know what I mean? When we won the Challenge Cup, she drove down to get a picture with me when I got off the bus, and then drove back home.
Yeah. I remember that.
And you know, my mum would not miss a game. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? She's the most loyal person. You know what I mean? To follow me, but it is nice for my mum. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things going on in my family in Cumbria, which she likes to get away from. So coming down here is a respite, and just want to touch on Georgia now as well.
Well, that was my next question, mate. We've got lockdown and we're lockdown free, and we've got some good news. You've got expecting a little baby, haven't you? A little baby boy.
Yeah.
So you've got that going on. You've got Georgia at home. Just bought your first new house. We've got pre-season, which is a tough time of the year anyway, and you've got a uni degree. Talk through all this, juggling all this, and how much Georgia's been a massive part of you being in Leeds, because like you say, you came alone and you've got a family in Leeds. You've created your own little family now, your own house, and talk through that.
Definitely. You know, I met Georgia when I was 17, 18, and you know, been together for 11 years now, and you know, what an amazing, you know, woman. You spend time around, and the most loving, caring.
Donal's there with me as well. It's not just me and John. I'll have to clarify that Donal's.
Yeah, no, she's the most loving, caring person you'd ever meet, and you know, we got married last year, which was brilliant. But we've got our first baby on the way now, and you know, her support through all these tough times has been one of the main things for me, and keeps me on my feet. You know what I mean? Make sure that I'm doing the right things, and she really does push me to become a better version of myself. And you know, and then we're at university as well, so it's going to be a bit tough juggling the baby around university, as obviously Georgia likes to help me a little bit with my work when I need it. You know, I'm not the...
Well, there's two versions of Donal. So Donal, like I spoke about, you don't really see this, but Donal is very sociable. And he likes to be around the boys and stuff like that, but then when uni's around, that's it, we don't see him. So we do a lot of gaming now because we can't get around each other, so we're doing a lot of gaming. And so you know, when Donal's mad busy, is in half term, he'll be gaming. If not, you'll not hear anything from him because he'll be at the laptop and stressing out. It
is the hardest thing ever though, going to university full time or playing full time, but never in a million years would I think I'd be at university. You know what I mean? Leeds has given me that opportunity. You know what I mean? You know, Leeds has been my home for 10 years, and now to get the opportunity to play for them means more to me than anything else, because Leeds has become my hometown now, really. You know what I mean? I've lived here all along. I'm going to bring my son up in Leeds. You know, I'm playing for Leeds, and what more could you want? You know, I'm at university, and life's good. Yeah,
setting yourself up, mate. And I think that's enough. Just want to thank you for being open and honest, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Hopefully we'll have a couple more, some exciting news to come, hopefully. We'll see how we're going, but I just want to say massive thanks, mate. Really enjoyed it, and I think everyone else will.
Cheers, mate.